Mark Harvey. Harvs, how you going, mate?
Good evening, boys.
A little bit flat at the start on the weekend, and inaccuracy, that certainly the Tigers came out firing, didn't they?
Yeah, they certainly did, and we had some issues early, and we couldn't control some of their spread from stoppages, and we gave away a few silly free kicks inside their forward 50, and up the other end we were kicking behind, so it put us behind the 8 ball, and we had to really dig and find quite quickly and get some sort of composure back into the game, and we managed to do that in the second quarter, even though we still had a bit of inaccuracy again. And then we had to change a few things at half-time to make sure that we got back into the game and got on top of them.
Harvs, congrats. At quarter-time couldn't have come quick enough, I'm sure. What was the message then?
Well, it's more about being able to control their run, their spread from a midfield point of view. We were actually concerned about their midfield because when they introduced Foley and Newman and Cousins back into the side, all of a sudden it just adds a different dimension to it. So our guys looked like they were sort of flat for some reason. I'm not sure whether that's indicative of playing the two top sides the previous 2 weeks, but to our credit, we managed to regroup, and on a day that where we remembered, we had to remember quite quickly to find some form.
But you would have and should have absolutely blown them away, let's face it. I mean, you totally dominated the second half, and still you had those yips. It was quite amazing. I mean, for Matty de Boer to start that, it just like it spread through the whole team, because it wasn't just one or two blokes. You had about 13 of them halves.
No, and from all accounts, Carl, you used to trigger that off with West Coast, those early shots that you used to have.
Blame me.
No, look, we had 47 entries and 37 shots, so the return is positive, but the inaccuracy is the negative. So we were getting a number of shots when we went in, and so that can be good decision-making and having a good forward structure, so we just couldn't capitalise.
Harvs, how do you approach this week? Is it more about what you're doing as a team, or is it more, do you identify a few hotspots for that you're going to have to nullify or negate against West Coast?
Look, I think when you've got a changing perception of whether you should win or lose a game, and our young team's having to deal with that now, all of a sudden, we're going into a game, red-hot favourites. I'm talking about the Richmond game just recently, and just dealing with that change of mindset. And you've got to make sure that you retrack your players and make them understand about how hard it is still to keep on track and to keep winning. You only have to have a look at the weekend, and there were 3 major upsets. A lot of the so-called teams that you would think would finish in the top 4 got beat. This game is so demanding, so challenging. And this week's another one of those, and irrespective of where these two teams are, meaning us and West Coast, the battle will be last man standing, and that's what we're expecting, and I'll put our players on notice straight away. I stated we'll probably make 3 or 4 changes in our side, and possibly after 5 or 6 weeks in this demanding game you need to, but there are other reasons that we might look at just from a balanced point of view to take on West Coast.
Rhys Palmer, been in outstanding form, Harvs. You'd have to be very proud of the way that he has come back. 31 possessions on the weekend, instrumental in the Sharks' victory over South Fremantle.
Yeah, he was, and he walked into my office just a couple of days before the Anzac Day game, and he wasn't in the side, and I just thought he needed another game and make sure he was on track, and we'll see how you go on the weekend. And he was fairly dejected because he's a fairly eager young person and very committed to the team and just wants to get out there and play and recoup what he did in his first year. So I think we've managed him quite well, by the way. It's always difficult with particularly young players coming back from these, and we just want to make sure he's right.
You're predicting that maybe 3 or 4 changes. Who else is in the mix that's along with Palmer, who could come into this lineup this week?
Yeah, look, I think young Robin's been very impressive with the way he's going about things. We've got Dodge, Shammer, and Bradley that are just sort of putting a lot of pressure on the guys in the team at the moment. Zach Clark, these sort of guys. Grover and Ibbotson are just around the corner, and Ruffles probably. Not that he's in line for selection, but he's about to make his comeback from a knee reconstruction too. So, we're starting to get a little bit of pressure from underneath, and that's important going forward. And we may have to look at our rookies and whether we actually can sustain. I think Thornton might come back possibly in the next week or 2. So we just might have to rejuggle things.
If you get, one of our listeners rang up earlier, said, look, if you get Thornton and Grover's coming back shortly, you just mentioned Ruffles, they come back on, you're going to have to make decisions on who goes back off, don't you?
Yeah, we will. So it just depends on whether those blokes play this week or the following week or the week after that. So we're just making sure that they're up to speed with their comebacks.
I'll tell you what, Nat Fyfe didn't look out of place, did he?
No, he's interesting young man. He's you know, he has got just natural anticipation of the game, a very good reader of the ball in the air, and knows when it's coming to him and when it's not coming to him, and how to deal with that. So he was, you know, he was terrific actually. You know, I mean, if he had a kick straight, he would probably kick 3 or 4 or 5. But I'm not sure whether that's good or bad in your first game. Probably to go through 1 goal 4 is probably a good thing for him first up. But he certainly contributed. He played his role to a T. And we're very pleased with the way he went.
Clearly you play at your best when you've got that intensity and that urgency and that pressure all over the ground, particularly kicked off by your forward 50 players. You know, West Coast having a lot of trouble getting the ball out of their back half, so you must see some sort of an avenue there to keep that work rate up, because the opportunities will come.
Yeah, look, I think when you have a look at a lot of back lines across the board in this competition, there would be 1, 2, 3 players in the defensive area for teams that, you know, sometimes have a skill problem, and sometimes you can zero in on that. I'm not saying this is West Coast, for instance, but I'm just saying, but we've got some pretty quick forwards down there that can jump on you quite quickly, no matter whether you're a good decision maker or you're good by foot. So we like to think that's probably a big part of what we're doing. Putting pressure on all over the ground. Now,
have you had a word to Ballantyne? Because he's walking a very fine line, Harvs. It seems like he's been possessed by something.
You tell me what he's been possessed by, Carl.
Well, he seems to be a very angry little man.
Well, he's from Mandurah down at Pinjarra, somewhere down there. Brad, you're obviously at that area a bit more than me, but I'm not sure what goes on down there.
Well, I used to go to school to eat their lunch down there. But he's very, very hungry to play football once he hits that paddock.
He is. Mate, look, he was, you know, I mean, he was instrumental in the way that we sort of got on top of Richmond. His pressure is as good as what he does on the scoreboard.
Well, good on your Harvs. Looking forward to the Derby this week. I know you've got plenty of things coming up in the prelude to it. Good luck, and who knows, we'll be talking to you next Monday night, and you could be 5-1.
Yeah, a long way to go. Thanks a lot, guys.
Mark Harvey and John